Hello, guys and girls. Welcome back to our Civil War Extravaganza. I'm Kylie, and this is Spencer.
On Joy.
In this episode, we'll talk about the events of the Civil War, the tidings of the Civil War. It started with Lincoln getting elected president with no Southern support. A few months after Lincoln's inauguration, July of 1861, the Confederates and the Union fought at the Battle of Bull Run, Virginia. The Confederates end up successfully defeating the U.S. troops at the Battle of Bull Run because the U.S. Union troops were ill prepared.
Several months following the Battle of Bull Run, the front affair had threatened the escalation into a war between Great Britain and the U.S. The U.S. ended up appointing the war with Great Britain, which eventually convinced Great Britain to remain neutral during the war.
After the Trent Affair in March of 1862, there was a naval battle between USS Monitor and the ironclad CSS Virginia. This was called the Battle of Hampton Roads. It demonstrated to people that wooden warships were outdated. The ships had iron armor, which made the battle end in a draw due to the ships not having good enough guns to puncture the iron armor on either ship.
A month later, in the April of 1862, a battle of Shiloh commences. The a battle of Shiloh surprised Grant's army in Tennessee, but they persevered through to victory.
Around 2 months later, in June of 1862, Robert Edward Lee took over command of the Confederate Army, the rebelling slave states. This happened during the 7 Days Battles. The 7 Days Battles were a series of battles that occurred in Richmond, Virginia. This battle was from June 25th to July 1st in 1862. Lee assumes victory, defeating McClellan in 7 Days Battle.
In the December of 1862, Ambrose, no, some months later, after the 7 Day battle in August of 1862, the Second Battle of Bull Run happens. It ends in a victory for Lee's army. Lee's army defeats John Pope in the battle.
The Battle of Antietam followed shortly after the Second Battle of Bull Run in August of 1862. In August, Lee and his army attempted to invade Maryland, but it was repulsed or driven back by McClellan and his army. The U.S. or the Union wins this battle.
In the December of 1862, Ambrose Burnside issues an attack on Lee and his army at Fredericksburg, Virginia, ending in a defeat for the Union.
Finally, in January of 1863, Lincoln officially issues the final Emancipation Proclamation to abolish slavery. After this, in March, Congress passed the Conscription Act. This act was the first wartime military draft.
The Civil War battles continue at Lee and his army. It continued to go on as Lee and his army defeats Joseph Fuller and his army at Chancellorsville, Virginia.
West Virginia was permitted to secede from Virginia, going to become the 35th state.
A military tide turned due to victories at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and Vicksburg, Mississippi. The Union won both of these battles.
Not many things happened in 1863. The last major thing in the Civil War that happened that year was the New York draft riots. This was due to an opposition to conscription.
Um, as Grant, the 18th President of the United States, was appointed the General in Chief of all the Union armies by Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, in March 1864.
From May through June of 1864, there was a bloody overland campaign led by Grant to stall outside of Petersburg, Virginia.
A morale of the Union or the U.S. gets raised due to victories at Atlanta, Cedar Creek, which is the Battle of Cedar Creek, and Mobile Bay, Alabama, which the Battle of Mobile Bay happened in August 1864.
About 3 months after these battles in November, Lincoln gets re-elected after the Union claims victory McClellan during the election against McClellan.
From November 15, November 15th, 1864 through December 21st, 1864, William Sherman, Major General of the Union Army, takes his army on a military campaign beginning at Canastota, Tennessee, and ending in the port of Savannah, Georgia.
At the beginning of 1865, in January, the 13th Amendment is passed, which says neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to the jurisdiction. This amendment was to abolish slavery, which the Confederate South did not want.
The last Confederate port falls to U.S. forces in Lincoln, North Carolina, and February.
About a month later, March 4th, 1865, Lincoln gets inaugurated as president for his second term, which is around 41 days from the day he dies.
In April, a breakthrough happens. It happens in Richmond, Virginia. The forces of Petersburg force the Confederates to evacuate the capital.
Robert Edward Lee surrenders his army of northern Virginia to Grant at Appomattox, a town in Virginia. This was around the time the Civil War finally came to an end. The war finally comes to an end on April 9th, 1865.
Once the war ended, things mostly returned to normal. They rebuilt a lot of buildings. How did it impact on the U.S. Union? In the next episode, stay tuned.